Hey everyone, it's Benny the Finance Dog. Welcome to my channel. As we do every Sunday, we're going to be giving a preview of what's ahead in the markets for the week by just looking at some macro events as well as the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple to kind of give you some trading levels heading into the week of the 24th. So let's begin. As always, we start with the economic calendar. This week seems the only major event is we do have an FOMC decision on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, followed by Fed Chair Jerome Powell giving a speech at 11:30. Markets tend to be highly volatile based on what he says, though we have seen less and less of that volatility with each impending speech. This week, it's expected that they are going to announce one more quarter basis point rate hike, and in my estimation, this will be a sell the news type of event, which is likely going to cause the market to drop. Now, I say that with a grain of salt because, as I've preached before, I highly recommend that you do not try to get in front of this. Wednesday, for me personally, is just going to be a no trade day. Maybe I'll take a trade later on in the afternoon once the press conference goes and the market has picked a direction. But really, Wednesday and even the back half of Tuesday, probably stay away. It's not part of my trading plan to trade in front of economic reports. And the Fed is a big one that has the ability to swing the markets either way. So for me personally, it just makes sense to stay away. Other than that, we do have some other reports like manufacturing PMI, jobless claims, PCE, all of which will likely have little impact on the broader market, and likely will fly under the radar with the Fed taking up the majority of the attention when it comes to an economic reporting standpoint. We also have an enormous amount of companies with earnings announcements this week. I think the total is 170. 170 companies, which makes up about 40% of the S&P 500, are going to be reporting earnings this week. All the big ones, of course, Meta, Alphabet, Domino's, 3M, Verizon, GM, Spotify, Alaska Airlines, Coca-Cola, AT&T, Boeing, Chipotle, eBay, Southwest, McDonald's, Royal Caribbean Group, Chevron. Uh, those are just a few of the names that are going to be reporting. There's not even enough on this graphic. Shout out Earnings Whispers for putting this out on a weekly basis for us to use. Um, but there are going to be a ton of names announcing earnings this week. So obviously some volatility could follow that as well. Especially on Tuesday, you have both Google and Microsoft, Google aka Alphabet, and Visa all reporting after the close, which could see some real strong market volatility as they make reference to what is happening in the world of AI for their respective companies that really dominate a majority of the enterprise business that's happening today. Um, with that being said, pretty busy week, right? Lots of earnings, Fed reporting. I wouldn't blame you if you just stay away this week or just trade like Monday and Friday, because those will probably be the least impacted by all the stuff that's going on. You can sit back and relax. It's also the last week of the month, which typically is bullish. Um, so we kind of have that working in our favor as well. The last few trading days of the month and the first couple of trading days of the month are generally bullish. I say generally because it could be wrong. All right, we could be in for a pullback, which we've been calling for a while. We got a bit of last week, which as we head to the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple, we'll go ahead and cover. Starting with SPY, of course, on the monthly, we did see a pullback close at 452.18 last week, down from a high of 456. So pretty significant moves in that sense. For SPY, it seems to have found a floor at that 450 level. We'll look for that floor to continue to hold on the upside. Old Support now becomes resistance, so we're looking at 52.50 or 53, and then of course 455 as a major number. If we do break that to the upside, we'd have plenty of room to run. I think this 460 area is going to be some pretty strong resistance should we run into that. We also just have a trend line, as you can see here, to be aware of. So we could see some, bounces to the downside off this trend line that's now been established from these two highs. So looking at the weekly, same thing kind of here. Obviously, the week pushed up, did, touch that 456 level and got slammed back down. Closed just under 453. We'd be looking for support at the 450 level. If we break 450 to the downside, I think we have room all the way to 445 and potentially even 438 if we really, really have a strong Fed announcement or some weak earnings or something like that. We could get down to that level. And then to the upside, as I said, we're looking at 453, then 455, and eventually 460 should we get that high. Switching over to the Qs, QQQ Monthly here. Same kind of thing going on as we had on SPY. We pushed down this previous week and closed at 375.63. So we're kind of at a major psych level, right above it, which is nice to see in terms of just being bullish. A lot of tech earnings this week could push QQQ higher. If we do go to the upside on this monthly chart, at least we have 380, 385 as the kind of like next two levels to the upside. Got some work to do to get from 375 to 385 for sure. If we continue on the downside, 371 seems to be a level that may hold, and then of course just flat old 370. If we break either of those and go more to the downside, we'd be looking at a 363 as a floor on the Qs. Just looking at the monthly. Switching over to the weekly, we get a similar kind of setup here. A little bit more of a bearish candle last week for how we opened, pushed up, and then closed so much lower. So we could see this pullback continue again, right? We'd be looking for bounces off that 372.50 level before we go to the upside. But same thing I was kind of talking about last week in terms of patterns. We got like bullish candle, bearish step back, bullish candle, bearish step back, bullish candle, bearish step back. So we could see, a bullish candle. The last 2 weeks, though, we can see that the selling pressure has really stepped into place once we get above that 379 level. So we'll be looking for that to hopefully break, and we can now push through that 379 level and have it act as support moving forward. But for now, it's resistance, so I'll be looking to take some puts off there on the weekly. And let's go over to Apple on the monthly chart. Same deal here. We did make a new high last week with the announcement of Apple GBT, pushed all the way up to 198.23, which allows us to do a couple of things. We can kind of redraw a lot of the Fibonacci levels that we had before, but if we're just going purely off just this monthly chart, we have a floor at 186 that was briefly touched last week to look for in terms of levels. The open and the close are also going to be levels to look for. So we're looking at 193.78 as well as 191.94. So really kind of like 193.75 and 192 flat would be the two levels I draw on this. And then last month's high is also going to be a level at 194.50. So those are the kind of levels that you're trading with in terms of this area, since we have no previous history being this high. Apple's of course trading at an all-time high, but overall look of the chart seems, I keep saying this, that we're due for a pullback, but we're going to play the upside. We got a little bit of that pullback last week. The month is obviously a down month for Apple overall, despite making new highs. And as we switch over to the weekly, you can see last week there was a ton of selling pressure, though it did for the week still close in the green. We should see a pullback here, and we can find new levels, 189.28 and then 186.85 would be the two levels to the downside that I'd be looking for a bounce off of. We could get all the way down to 185 if we have some, bad Fed news or something like that on Wednesday that tanks the market. You'd be looking for bounces around that 185 level. So hopefully this helps you kind of formulate your own trading plan for the week. This are the levels that I'm looking for, the major news that I'm paying attention to. It is going to be a rather busy week, again, as I stress, with all the earnings and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of noise. So just be careful with execute on your trading plan, and of course make a trading plan, or just sit on the sidelines. There's nothing wrong with sitting out and not forcing anything. It's rather to do that, right? Because if you have to force it, it's probably shit. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much. Woof woof.